Hello, friends. Motivational strategies and changing trends. Under this podcast series, this is next episode. Today is June 21, the equinox day. Let's have a podcast. The principle of staying continuously motivated means we need to be continuously engaged with motivational stories, strategies. We need to have certain figures which we can refer to as our motivation. If you don't do continuously, then cloudiness, then pessimism will strike. The idea is you need to be continuously engaged. You need to understand what are the motivational points. As well, we need to understand what are the demotivators. What can demotivate you? It's like this. You are like prepared for everything, like wonderful party, and something happens, you lost your mood. We all are moody. We understand. Our mood goes up and down. Those are the points. If we can overcome those demotivators, that's the key point. And that can be achieved simply by continuously staying motivated by some way. I mentioned we can stay motivated using certain continuous engagement like short stories, memes, or listening to the thing which you like. Example, if you like to hear music, go for it. That can make you pleasant and motivated. We can always refer to certain figure which we think is a motivational. When I say a figure, it doesn't mean it needs to be a public figure. For example, you may have your friends, relatives, your grandpa, grandma, uncles, or anybody. They can be motivators for you. They need not be publicly understood or they did not be a public figure. Certain traits of, say, your grandparents, that can, if you can remember, when demotivators kicks in, you will be able to overcome that. So not necessary you have to always go for the public figures. Those can be your internal figures as well, your inner circle as well. Those traits, if you remember, you can be motivated. In this podcast series, I try to give certain public figures. Those are my favorites. King Alexander, Christopher Columbus, Genghis Khan. The one I did not mention more, I will talk about it. King Alexander is a legend. In my previous podcast, I have mentioned it. Less than 1% population or people are the ones who change the world, either positively or negatively. Rest of the 99% are followers. They follow, they implement. We need to have there is a cycle: creation, implementation, destruction. Creators will create certain traits or they change the direction the world or society goes. Implementers are the followers. As long as they implemented the positive things well, things goes. Otherwise, cycle repeats and then we see some upgrade happens. Those who change the world in a positive direction, those are legends. And we see the change happens in some other way. Those are But change always happens in other way as well. So those we can always say that 1% or less than 1% people will change the world in some way. And those are called legends. And I have to find the name for others. So um, let's say not legends for now. Today I'm trying to talk something the figure may be not called or characterized as a legend and probably not otherwise as well. But if you study carefully, that figure has changed the world a lot. I'm going to talk about it today. Yes, you must have guessed it because I have mentioned it before. King Napoleon Bonaparte. It's not characterized as a legend anywhere, but it's not otherwise as well. From Napoleon's story, if you try to understand, we can learn a lot of things. He was a nobility by background, we understand. The Corsica island was, his family was from some minor aristocratic background, but he was not a king or he was not a nobleman. He joined some very ordinary rank in the military. So we have to call him as a ordinary man only or a commoner man. Look what he achieved. He become a emperor status. To what? Such a great kingdom. How that's possible? That was nobody was pushing him or making him. We can very clearly see. Political genius, political shrewdness, military genius, understand the nobility as well as the commoners, understand the revolutionary as well as the nobility, understand the religious figures, understand the interaction between the around the world, around the people. Don't you see it? It's like a commoner man become emperor. And to what? Such a great land, such a great empire. But it's not characterized as a legend as well. That's the main thing. Isn't it a great motivational story if you look from that perspective? What do you think? So today I'm trying to get into that character. I have done this before, so I have mixed reactions received when I become like a King Alexander or I try to become like a Christopher Columbus. I did not try to become Genghis Khan because I did not know that story that well uh, to become to get into that character. But I tried to become King Alexander and Christopher Columbus. Try to get into that character and try to think that way. So today I will try to get into this character. The comparison is King Alexander was a legend. So there are a lot of things we already understood. The stories are very well understood and people know very well. But Napoleon Bonaparte is not considered as a legend by any way or anybody. But we see the amount of success or amount of things he changed the world. Or that's what I'm going to explain. This is not at all easy. My understanding of the character comes from reading certain stories and volumes. That's all. I did not go into the region at all anytime, or I never spoke to the or anybody, very historians, if you're asking that way. So my understanding of going into the character comes from the stories which I learned or I read from various times in my life. In my standards, I can tell you it will be very tough and very complicated because when I'm trying to get into certain character or certain emotion, I'm trying to explain. It may be uh, the viewers needs to understand or try to see what we are trying to do. So there, I mean, absolutely, it may be wrong or, uh, but we'll try to get into the because I wanted to explain a commoner can become such a great thing and look at the ambitions, political genius. I'm going to say those. So those are the qualities I'm trying to highlight as well. So you can see if you can see political geniusness, military shrewdness, deep understanding of deep understanding of nobility as well as the commoner. Stays on the ground, but think like a nobility. Understanding of the region. So these are the points I'm trying to get into the story of the character. I will tell you, it may be success up to some point. Probably I have to take more text, but let's see. If you like it after this, we will let me know in your comments. Okay, so let's start. So today we will go into the soliloquy of the Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte. Let's start. A deep pain always goes through my stomach. Whenever I'm trying to write my log, the deep pain goes through. I try, my physicians are saying it, it's the medicine. I used to take that medicine along. Probably it could be poison, but it's a slow. The deep pain, but I'm determined. I want to express my story. I still love my son, my land. Let me write. I still remember my childhood. Parents always told me, we are the great descendants of the Roman emperors. My land, such a beautiful land, always falls between the empires. I was having the heritage of the great emperors. That's what my family told. But in my childhood, I always see the region will be always under constant fights. From the east, outside the Alps, the army used to come. From the eastern, the Lombardians, the Papal states. From the north, those will be the Genoans. The eastern front, they used to be the saviors. Even we didn't really like them, but we wanted to be a independent kingdom. That was not possible. The Franks used to be the saviors in between all the fights. The eastern land after the Alps, they used to cross the Alps and the constant fights will be going on. That was how my childhood went. My father used to be revolutionary. The genuine Republican was fighting with the Lombardians, and the Austrians were helping them. Frank comes and they helped. They declared they are the winners. My father was from the Revolutionary Army. They didn't like Franks, but our land was surrendered. I really didn't know. I used to just listen to stories from my mother and my father. My father took a stance. He said the Franks are the one, we should go with them. The Genuines are not taking us as the Romans or even the Lombardians are not taking us. The Papal states are not adopting us. The Austrian lands are the people above after Alps. They cannot own us, the thing which are surrounding us. The Franks are the ones. Let's go with them. But not everybody was agreeing that. Nevertheless, I believe we achieved some kind of peace. The Franks took over. Other revolutionaries ran away and they were running from some different lands. But our land becomes peaceful. The Franks established firm control. My father agreed. He took the legion with the Bourbon king. I followed him. We always had the identity crisis. Our language or my accent won't really fit. Those people used to laugh at me. They will say, he's such a short guy. But I always felt great in my mind. My father and we joined the army. That was such a volatile time. The revolutionaries were underground. The monarchists were there. The Western lands were burning or churning. The independence war was going on. The fight people were not liking, the commoners were not liking the kings. I personally didn't like any king, but I agreed with them. The, the commoners were saying that look at the excesses, look at those kings, what they're doing. But as an outsider, I was telling that's the aristocracy. All the kings are similar, they are doing the same thing. Where was the problem? I always used to think why the Bourbons are suffering so much. I mean, I didn't like any Louis of any number as such, but I was just thinking what's happening. Probably the hidden support given in the West was hurting pretty badly. They were not winning the big lands, and the commoners were not happy. The king's house has a mixed heritage, and the revolutionaries were taking over. They were very well fed from the competitors. I like Jacobins. I was part of it. I used to attend their meetings. But I was, and even I agreed their concepts of eagle-eyed and everything, but I was not understanding why they are so against the monarchy. Those monarchs were same everywhere. The complexity was very deep, including religious. They didn't like the Prussians, the Franks versus Prussians. That fight was there. Papa versus the Protestant. That fight was there. They were showing they are representing the commoners, but as a as a bystander, I thought it's not. They did the revolution. Then they started the directory. The directors comes and they started running the country. I was not getting. I put my allegiance to them. They were saying famously that the monarch said, "Eat cake." The deep understanding of that society, I can tell you, probably that was not correct. The Frank land was so rich. The Mediterranean land, it was lush, land of grapes, land of wine, full of rivers. How could anybody be that hungry? They can say, we don't have bread. Then the monarch said, okay, take my cake. I believe that has happened. Don't we understand the sarcasm? Eat cake and that makes so much people outcry. That sentence, if said, was taken out of context, I can tell you. Because nobody was that what they were telling. The, the issue was different. But I couldn't help. The Jacobins chopped everybody off. What a scene. Oh my God. Such a medieval thing. And in this land, I couldn't believe. But that's what was going on. I was just merely a soldier. I used, as I said, I was my allegiance with the Jacobins and I followed them. But our leader was also chopped off at the end. I followed Voltaire, what he says. I understood. Always from that, his views were great. But what was going on? I was not able to understand. I, when I was meeting with my fellow uh, army men, they used to like to hear me. Even though they were used to point me that, okay, they would laugh at me when I was talking, or they would say funny things about me, but they used to listen to me. I have a minor nobility. I was an aristocratic background, and my father has influence in such a some extent. I used to talk about if I become a king of Sardinia or Sicily, or how about we won that land? If we achieve, we give sovereignty on that land. People used to like that. They were thinking, oh, yeah, he has a point. But what was going on here? The directors, oh my God, what a thing. They were trying to run the country as a directors. I thought the Dutch or the Holland land, they did the directors. They ran the country as a company from 16th century. It was such a great. But here it was just a chaos. I would call as not less than circus was going on, I would say. I told they need a king. I will tell you, they need a king. Directors are not, I mean, that's not running the country, I can tell you. The country was still stable, the empire was still stable because of the pressure from the outside. Nobody wanted to lose the land what Franks owned because it would have gone to somewhere else. The Iberian king might be holding it, so we don't wanted that. So that's how they have been protected. I always thought they need a king. But who? I was who? I used to tell the stories, and that's how people liked me. I was made, I win certain battles. I was telling the stories, and I win the battles on the Italian peninsula. People liked it. They gave me the responsibility of the southern land. They told we wanted to govern the land of Egypt. It was under English at that time, and the Ottoman Empire was governing everything else. It was such a great responsibility. And it came to me, the short soldier whose accent they didn't even like. I accepted. I saw my opportunity. I wanted to give some direction. I wanted to find some good way. And this was the chance. When I'm going to Egypt, I had a deep reading since my childhood about the southern lands, the land of the pharaohs, how they are. Those were the deep mystic lands. Hidden treasures were there. It was not just a desert. So much great history was behind it. People laughed at me. I told when I was made charge of the expedition, I told I need the scientists, historians, the linguistic experts. Why? I was not asking the soldiers or the artillery. I was asking something else. Because I knew how to win the hearts, not through the artillery, not through the shipping vessel. Those hearts will be won by different way. I took scientists with them because I wanted to study the history around the Nile. I wanted to study those pharaohs, those mystics, those mystical stories. I went and there was not so big fights, but I was winning. I learned, I started learning their language. And all my great scientists, great historians, they found the great stone. It was inscribed with such a mystic letters on them. I called it as a Rosetta Stone. Such a great find. I was loving the land. I was loving the people. People started interested in me. I created my position. I knew if we win that land, then the route to the east goes from there. The known route of the east was going from there. Otherwise, they had to take the entire turn. What happened in the west? The empire would suffer in the east if I win and establish that land. My control was the chance. How? Military power? Of course not. I knew I can take the scriptures in my hand and the people will love me. The route to the east will be mine. The empire started shaking. They understood he can take the scriptures in hand. He can bowl. Should I do it? If I took the scriptures in my hand, I'm going to win that land. I will get to the east. What happened to the west will happen to the east. The empire will shake fully. What I will get? I think I got a proposal. Both the empires wanted to be friend with me. We declared the victory on that land. But I did not took the full control. They asked me, go to the east, follow the Mediterranean up to the east. You will study a lot. You will get a great knowledge. I went up to the Syria, to the Turkish land. The immense knowledge, understanding deep. It was such a great thing. The king inside me, I think I realized it. Now I have the friends as well with me. They were going to support me. I came back. I was celebrated. Even we lost the land technically in the Egypt, still they welcomed me with a hero. Nobody was liking those directory. I was having the chance. The ambition inside me was taking over. I need some alliances. And everything worked the way I was looking. With the some coups, the directors were thrown off, and I was chosen as the first council. Josephine helped that thing helped us enormously. I was declared as a first council, the guy who was not a francophone, whose whose accent was not understood. His height was laughed at, and that guy was the first council. He was chosen. All the Jacobins, all my previous friends, they helped me. Nobody liked the directors, but they liked me. I bought the land. It was such a great land, the land of opportunity. I I understood we have to rule this and put it properly. It was such a big mess, even though it's a great revolution, but things were all messy all around. I put my edicts, I put the code, I put change the revolutionary in the education. I try to take help from everybody. I knew the support will come from Papa. I took his blessing. And the first council become a emperor, was chosen emperor, which was not a francophone. Well, take me as an emperor. All the few things which I used to study before, and I implemented immediately after I became the first council. I've I saw, I love, I won the hearts from the commoners to the aristocrats to the religious figures to the people around me. How it is possible somebody will become a king without uh, without the emperor next to it? How they are going to approve it? How the people above the Alps are going to approve this? Unless they have the belief, they trust, they agree. All those royalties were connected, I can tell you. Even though they used to fight, those royalties were all connected. How the non-royalty guy become the king or emperor in such a great land. I felt proud of myself. I did so many changes in the education system. I tried to resolve the economic crisis, but I had to be very careful. I understood what happened in the West, what Bourbon suffered, what was the history. I played my moves very carefully. I took the economist with me. I understood military was not the solution. Economy solution was there. We offered a great land for a price. It was a political move. We know there was no chance militarily we can win, but we couldn't lose that. We put that such a great price on it. First time, almost first time, that great chunk of land was sold on a price without a military invention. I believe if they study this in future, lots of bloodshed will stop. There was an economical solution I applied. And because there was no way military invention was possible, or any way we could have defeated any of the power at that time. But we we got the thing we want. That's why I was like, but I used to be tested all the time. I one certain thing doesn't mean anything. There were so many complexities around. They had to be solved. When I become the emperor, I remember the great Charlemagne. I took his crown. I put myself into his shoes, and everybody, all the empires agreed. A minor nobility guy is taking the crown of great Charlemagne. They wouldn't allow it. No royalty would have allowed that. That was such a great honor. I achieved it. I put the code which they named after me, Napoleon Code of Edicts. I declared myself they as an emperor, and everybody agreed to that. I declared myself as an emperor for life. Now more complexities were there. They wanted to resolve so many things from the eastern side above the Alps. That means the military that was not going to be solved economically. We understand that. We solved something on the west, but not on the eastern front. I had to make the military ready. I have to put the army ready. We have to solve all those complex things. We have to go up to eastern front, up to the Rus. Top of it, I always try to go to bless, to take blessing to Papa, but that thing was turned around me. I had to deal with that. But I did. I was trying to take help from all my people, and including East, West, and I tried to establish a monarchy within me. I did won several fights I won. I showed them the model how to fight and how to solve it. Whatever we lose, that was given. It was not really fought. I knew we were not trying to fight there. We were trying to govern it and hand it over and achieve the peace. That was the purpose of the Eastern expedition, all the Eastern expedition. That was not try to add to my empire. That was not never was the purpose. It was a small time I could get. But now I understood. They wanted the heir to the kingdom. When I declared as a king, they wanted heir to the kingdom. I really didn't wanted that, but they were trying. That was the political moves were going on. I was not able to get the blessings. I did certain alliances, but they we I understood. I just gave it up. They put me on the Alba island. All my internal enemies, all those royalists and the bankers, they were now coming up again because the land was, there was a peace. What they wanted was established. From the revolution to the peace, that process, that transition was complete. And now they thought the emperor was, they they wanted that now. I understood. They put me on the Elba island. This I thought they will put me in charge of Sardinia and Sicily. But they again called me because they couldn't handle that. Just for 100, they I again made that I become the king. They wanted me to fight again. I said that's not, we don't want that. Anyway, we did the Waterloo. My friends said, look, we will give you, we will save you, we will keep with you. Friends were helping me. I believe this was from the previous royalists or something. I felt it was poison, but the deep pain. But I always loved the land and where I flourished. I put my elegance with them. Thank you.